Hi, folks. This is John Adamson, the Rehab and Documentation Guru. And right now, I'm going to encourage you to unionize for the sake of being selfish. That's right. I think we should be selfish. And I'm going to build the case for this. So let me point out some statistics. And I'll tell you why I chose these in just a little bit. The average physical therapist, new graduate physical therapists, on average make $63,000 per year. That's an entry-level doctorate degree. So think about the length of time in school and the outcome, the pay that's received. The average physical therapist after approximately 9 years or before 9 years of employment makes $80,000. So keep that in mind. Now I'm going to compare this to just healthcare related fields, okay, that have similar schooling requirements. And one, which I wish I had known about when I was thinking about school, is nurse anesthetist. Nurse anesthetist, sorry. I always have a hard time with that word. Maybe there's a reason I didn't go into that field. A new graduate. So keep in mind, nurse anesthetist has to have a BSN, so it has to have a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing, needs a minimum requirement of, from what I understand, 1 year of working in an intensive care unit experience, and then, of course, they have to get a master's. But when you factor in the time allotment that they're looking at, it's very similar to a new grad DPT or OTD. And I didn't include OT here, I apologize. But we know salaries are somewhat similar. A new grad nurse anesthetist, 125,000 plus per year, with an expectancy after 5 years of 169,450 per year, almost 170,000. In other words, a new grad anesthetist is going to be clearing roughly twice what a new grad PT does, and after 5 years, even with the increases expected at the 9-year mark for PT, will be a little bit more than double what a PT salary will be. What about a new grad pharmacist? I didn't even look at like long term, but a new grad pharmacist who has an entry-level doctorate now has $102,000 expected average salary. So compare that to $63,000. So why am I saying be selfish? Well, I'm saying being selfish because if we see a decline in salaries over time, do you know what those smart young people going into college who are going to be spending a lot of money on their schooling, who are looking at long-term benefits of their career, you know what they're going to be looking at doing? Not choosing physical therapy or occupational therapy or speech therapy. And so part of the reason for unionization is to help ensure that salaries hopefully stay consistent. Now, I know there's arguments against unions, and I'm versed in them. I have not been like super pro-union. I tend to be conservative. I don't want government generally to be involved in our lives too much. But there's a history of why unions have formed, and obviously it's to protect the worker. One of my big concerns is not necessarily for me in terms of salary, even though I have to be concerned because I have 12 children and a wife to support, but it is for the future of the profession. Because if you want your best and your brightest to choose physical, occupational, and speech therapy as careers who have a lot of schooling requirements in order to get to the point where they actually practice, if you want the best and the brightest to choose those fields, it's not just about having a passion for therapy, which obviously nurse anesthetist and pharmacy, very different careers, and you have to have certain temperament for them. And physical therapy, occupational speech look very different from those. But salary is a big, important factor. And so when these kids going into school think, you know what, when I get ready to be graduated, I'm going to have, maybe up to $250,000 in debt, and I can choose a field that'll pay me $63,000, or roughly that for OT and speech as well, maybe a little bit more for speech. I don't know the figures exactly. Or I can choose to be a pharmacist and make 40K more on average per year right off the bat. And in fact, a new grad pharmacist is making more, significantly more, 22,000 on average, more than an experienced physical therapist, or nurse anesthetist. They're looking at that and going, or they're thinking outside the healthcare realm and they're going, cybersecurity is really hot and it's going to be growing astronomically. And, you don't need a degree for that. You need certifications, you need experience, and you can grow in those fields and make pretty incredible money. So if we want to protect the brain trust of the therapy world and encourage those that have, good, solid, critical and clinical thinking skills to go into the field and perpetuate our fields as therapists and grow it in terms of research and development and evidence-based care, we've got to protect our salaries, because otherwise we're not going to get the best and the brightest, and that could pose a problem for the future viability of our professions. Anyway, this is John Adamson, the Rehab and Documentation Guru, just giving you a reason to think about why we should be selfish in terms of promoting salary and benefits, and in part, that's where a union is likely going to help. Take care, and God bless.